Sophie, do you want to go first and introduce yourself to everyone this afternoon?
Yeah, so I'm Sophie. I'm a final year business management student. So, I've been here for, 3 years now. So if you've got any questions, I will answer them as honestly as I can. I'm from Neath, so I'm really not that far from Swansea. So I know the area really well. So if you've got any questions about Swansea rather than the university, then ask away.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, so Sophie going into the intense final year of the business management course and knows it really well. So yeah, do send in any questions for Sophie. I'm James. I'm part of the student recruitment team in the School of Management now. So sort of typically, normally, my role would involve going to schools and doing things like this, but perhaps in person more than on Zoom. Now we're doing lots of webinars and virtual open days and things like that. I also work very closely with admissions. I was part of the admissions team for 3 years as well. So I've read more personal statements than I can count. So again, for any questions about sort of perhaps related to your personal statement or how to apply or the mechanics of UCAS, anything like that, then do fire away. Like I say, one of the main things that we want today is to try and make this as interactive as we can. Although we're obviously on Zoom, we're not there with you. We want to take your questions throughout, really. So you'll see, you should see on your Zoom sort of system a Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to try and point to it down there. So yeah, do fire away any questions throughout. Don't wait till the end. We will make sure we've got time for a bit of chat and discussion and a Q&A session at the end. Don't wait for the end though. If something comes up, if you don't understand something or it doesn't make sense, then pop your question in the chat, and Sophie and I, between us, I'm sure we'll be able to answer it. There is no question too big or too small. I think at the moment, especially with obviously open days fewer and further between than ever before, and this is kind of the best or the only way really to find out about university, to find out about certain courses. So do make the most of it. If you've got any questions from funding to anything that comes up, then let us know. We'll do our best to answer it. And if you really do put us on the spot, then we'll go away. We'll find the answer to it. We'll come back to you. But do send in your questions. Use that Q&A tab. Use the chat, whatever's easiest, and we'll go from there. So yeah, I suppose first things first, really. Swansea is where we are. You can see it on the map. A lot of you probably know Swansea quite well. I'm going to start off by asking a very, very quick question using the poll feature, which you should see now. Have you ever been to Swansea before? It's not too far from home, so hopefully some of you might have been before. So I can see a few people voting now. So if you keep voting, everybody so far, it's looking good. I'll let it run for a second or two more. Yeah. Okay, it's pretty. It's 100%. So everybody, there we go. Everybody's been to Swansea. Everyone that's voted's been to Swansea, which is good. Always nice. So those of you that have been to Swansea, you'll know very well that, of course, we are probably our main thing, the thing we love most is our beaches and our fantastic location. We do talk about it a lot, and that's because it is pretty cool, to be fair. I mean, obviously, again, these odd times, for students at Swansea at the minute who perhaps sort of social opportunities are a little bit more limited at the moment. At least we've got these fantastic beaches and fantastic spaces next to our campuses. Of course, aside from that, those of you that do know Swansea, perhaps you've been down to Gower or you've been into the city before, you'll know that it's the second city in Wales. Of course, you've got lots of shops, nightlife, all the usual things that you'd expect in any city, really. And I had to put the football team on there. I know you guys are in Cardiff and we're in Swansea, and we nearly had that Swansea-Cardiff playoff final last year. It didn't materialise, but of course, there is the football team as well. I had to be cheeky and include that. So that's Swansea. What about us as a university? Now, you might have been to Swansea but not been to the university before. Essentially, we are now, as of about, what's it now, Sophie, 5 years now, a dual campus university. So we have our Bay campus, which, as you can see there in the image, is quite a modern campus. It's opened in 2015. And we are there in the School of Management, in the business school, and we're joined by engineering and we're joined by science as well. And probably most interestingly, a lot of our industrial partners, the vast majority, are based here on the Bay campus too. So for us in the business school, that's Fujitsu, Pfizer, Agor IP, engineering. Have got lots of companies that they work with on campus too. Lots of odd labs and interesting equipment over that side as well. So yeah, new campus, new location, very modern facilities, and of course right next to the beach. As well as Bay campus, there's the Singleton Park campus too, which again, yes, is close to the beach. It's the more traditional campus, so it's older. It's where law are based down there, arts and humanities are down there, medicine's down there, human health sciences are down there too. So there's quite a few things located at Singleton Park as well. Quite an even split of students between the two campuses. But of course, there's us on the Bay campus, our new School of Management building. And I think, Soph, are we the closest college to the beach?
We are.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. And if we're not, well, we're very close anyway. So yeah, and it's quite, although obviously COVID's impacted things a little bit, it's still a very exciting time to come to Swansea because we're 100 years old. It's our 100th birthday this year. So, if you did come to Swansea University to study business, then you would be coming in our second century, which is quite a thought as well. So that's enough of us and Swansea and our location and all of that sort of thing. I've got another question for you guys, and essentially it's a bit of a tricky one, especially probably this perhaps it's quite early on in your decision making process. I'm going to launch another poll now, and basically have a think about it. Don't rush. But basically, we just want to know, why are you thinking about studying business management? So maybe you're not sure. Maybe you're thinking about science or business or sport or whatever it might be. But as best you can, pick the options that you can see on the screen which perhaps suit you most. So it might be, do you want to be your own boss and start your own business and you want to get the skills you need for that? It might be that you want a degree that you can really tailor and pick lots of different modules and choose different things. You might want to work for a big company. You want to be a leader or a manager. You might want lots of work experience. It could be that you don't know what else to study. That's a pretty common route as well. What was the situation for you, Sophie, just while everyone's sort of looking at that?
Well, I actually had the opportunity to do an accounting apprenticeship, and I'm very glad I didn't, because I'm awful at accounting. I'm really not good at it. I just don't go well with it. But I kind of went with business because I've always been interested in like the management side of businesses. Actually, because after this sounds like quite like working in a pub and kind of seeing the like management side of that, and I helping my manager like with rotas and like organising stuff and training staff. So I kind of just thought, I want to be a manager, so I'll do business management. Went from there.
Why not? Brilliant. So we've got, just looking at the results now, there's a few more people to vote, so I'll leave it running for a second, but for a minute or two more. But we've got quite an even split actually. Looking at the results, I think a lot of people seem to be saying that they're after a well-rounded degree that keeps their options open, and I think that's quite a good point with business management, because as we'll see later on, within business management, I mean, what is business management? It could be HR, could be marketing, could be anything along those lines, as we'll go into a bit more depth later on. Ultimately you can study BSc business management, and you can pick and choose, as we'll look into a bit later on, the elements of the course that are most interesting to you, or the elements of the course that perhaps you're best and you're strongest at. So yeah, a well-rounded degree that keeps options open. That's the most popular one. I'm going to end the polling there and share it with you guys, so you should be able to see that now. So yeah, that's quite interesting to see. I always find it quite fascinating to work out how people end up coming and studying business, because we do have people who want to go and work, they want to go and work in a city for a bank, and then there's other people who've just got a really, really good idea that they want to, go and start their own business, I don't know, selling clothes or selling food or coffee or whatever it might be. So yeah, quite an interesting mix. So brilliant. Right, we will move on and we'll have a little look at, for example, how we actually teach business in the School of Management. There's there's lots of different ways of teaching, and one thing I think you'll notice in universities, particularly compared to school, is that teaching is essentially based on the teaching staff themselves. So in Swansea, all of our teaching, or I say the majority of it, is predominantly research led. So we're a research based university. So, we don't have in university a curriculum like you might have in school, where the exam board kind of set the questions and set the sort of topics that you look at. Rather, the courses are shaped by the experts that teach them. So your strategy module is going to be taught by a leading expert in that field. HRM is going to be taught by someone who's a leading expert in HRM, so on and so forth. So research is kind of at the core of what we do. Along with that, though, of course, employability and skills is a really big deal. We really push, and I make no apologies, we'll probably talk about it, bore you to tears talking about employability over the course of the next little while, because it's a massive deal. There's the employability skills module, which if you're looking to do a year in industry or a year abroad, you'd need to take. Essentially, it doesn't bear any credits. It's not something that's going to count towards your degree, but it focuses on all those really important things that you need to actually, make your degree count, to actually get that exciting job at the end of it, to get that experience during a degree as well. So if you did you take the employability skills module yourself?
I did, yeah. I didn't do a year in industry. I just decided to go into my third year, but I wanted to do the employability module just to give me that little bit of help. So I did a placement in the summer, actually within the university, in the College of Engineering, not the School of Management. I feel like I was cheating on them. But no, like the employability team helped me with my CV, my application, interview tips. They help you with anything to boost your employability. So they're great. They are really, really useful.
Brilliant. No, that's good. Yeah, we'll again, we can look at sort of the employability support there, but there is that focus, in the modules themselves. There's always that focus on how what you're learning and how you're assessed will actually transfer over to the real world. So it could be doing presentations in front of people. It could be digital media types of assessment as well. It's not just essay writing. It's not just the sort of perhaps the stereotypical forms of assessment that a lot of people think they'll come across in university as well. Last but definitely not least, and I think more important than ever this year, mentoring, support, and student community is really important part of the whole learning experience. When you're studying a business degree. So when we say mentoring, we mean both mentors academically. So you'll have a personal tutor, an academic mentor, right the way through from your very first day as a student studying business, right the way through to the end. And they'll help you at the beginning with things that might seem trivial, like settling in, like working out where the nearest supermarket might be, or anything along those lines, right the way through your degree to perhaps, being an extra pair of eyes looking at your dissertation, for example, or your final year project, or any other piece of work. Of course, support the student community as well. The student community in Swansea, it's probably easy for us to say, but it is pretty vibrant, and it is very, very supportive. There's lots of societies to join. We'll have a look at later on. But particularly, from a business management side of things, there's several societies which are very, very, work hand in hand with academic staff as well. So, Sophie, that's something you've been quite involved with. Am I right in saying?
Yeah. Societies, support, sports, literally got involved in as much as I could. So, we'll talk about that, when we get to the slide. But yeah, got plenty to talk about. Yeah,
loads to go through. So that's the approach teaching wise. Of course, our subject areas, I give a very, very quick overview. Of course, business is what we're sort of focused on here today. We do as well have accounting and finance courses, as well as economics too. And here they are. So as you can see, business management and the different specialisms that are there make up the bulk of our courses. We have got a standalone marketing course. We have got an international tourism management course as well. Pretty exciting time to be studying this. I think the courses are the course is only about a year old, but it's already evolving hugely, because obviously a lot of the material on that course is living at the moment. Coronavirus, the impact of coronavirus on tourism, full stop, the impact of the climate emergency on tourism. There's some really good modules and some really good content in there as well. So it might be something that you hadn't thought of. Worth a look if that does sound interesting to you as well. The other thing I should point out too is this integrated foundation year. So for example, if we were to make you an offer, say of, I don't know, ABB, if you pass your A levels with grades ABB and you ended up with, I don't know, B, C, and maybe a D, there is the option to fall back and take that extra foundation year just to prepare you basically to go into the rest of the degree too. So those are our programs. Business, we're as a department within the School of Management, we're one of the biggest, or we are the biggest. So we've got over 60 academic staff, as I said before, lots of research experience, of course, a lot of industrial experience as well. And although they're in separate columns on this slide, I think actually I might change it next time to bring them together, because staff and students work very, very closely together. So big old community, almost 1,000 undergraduate students, a host of other postgraduate students who liked it so much they stayed on. And of course, even in this COVID impacted year this year, still a multinational community. There are still international students that have managed to make it back. But hopefully, I really hope next year and the year after, when you guys might be thinking about starting, we'll have our wonderful multicultural and multinational atmosphere back on campus as well as that. So let's look at those specialisms. There's quite a few. As you can see, e-business, entrepreneurship, so on and so forth, tourism, management, consulting. You don't have to choose one of these specialisms. You can just stick to plan A, and you could take the BSc Business Management course itself. And that's because the first year of the course is what we call a common first year. So essentially everybody in the first year, whether you're taking management consulting, whether you're taking human resource management, whether you're taking marketing, you'll all do the same first year, which gives you lots of flexibility. So it means that, as a business management student, in your first year, you'll try a few different things. You try a bit of accounting, you'll try a bit of ops and supply chain management, you'll try a bit of finance. And it gives you the chance then at the end of your first year to decide, oh, okay, maybe I do want to go down a specialist route and become an expert in human resources, for example. Or if you're on that pathway from the off, it gives you the chance to say, actually, I'm not sure if I want to be to be in HR, perhaps I'd like to go down more of a marketing path. It gives you the opportunity to do that as well. So, Sophie, just looking back at those specialisms again, what did you opt to do? Did you go down a route of one of these specialisms, or did you go for the general business management?
Well, initially I was on the finance route, which I thought this is going to be great. Like I'll go into finance, but whatnot. But after my first year, I thought, actually, I'm not that good at finance. I'm really not that good at it. But I did find that I was good at e-business, consulting, marketing, and tourism. So I was like, I don't know which to choose. So I stuck on the general pathway. So I kept my options open, and I've since then I've kind of done a bit of everything. So I'm doing some project management, entrepreneurship, marketing, tourism. I'm keeping my options open, so I do quite like the fact that I stuck to the general pathway, so I'm not kind of just closed off to something, because if I'd stuck to finance, then I don't know what I would have done, because I was awful at it, really, really, really bad at it.
Yeah, and that's interesting to say. I think a lot of sort of perhaps perceptions are that as soon as you come to university, you know exactly what you want to be doing when you leave, and you're just almost on the line to get there. Basically, it's not the case at all. Particularly when you're studying business, because it's such a massive course, there's so many different options as well. So yeah, as Sophie said, flexibility. Choose lots of different module options, whether you're on a pathway or not. There's still lots of flexibility there. If you do take, as Sophie has mentioned there, that kind of general business management option, the world's your oyster, basically. Like Sophie's alluded to, there's lots of different things you can do. So essentially what we're trying to say is you pick what you're interested in, you tailor the degree to your strengths. So you tailor the degree to things that you're interested in, and you come out, you come out with a BSc Business Management degree, but actually it might look quite different to your mate who's also got the same BSc Business Management degree, but perhaps is specialised in a completely different area. And I won't go through all of those different module options because, one, it doesn't really scratch the surface. There's a lot more out there, but two, there's just so much to dive into and delve into. So, well worth thinking about. But at this point, if you know you're interested in business, that's the most important thing. Don't worry about getting too bogged down. Do I want to go into corporate finance, or do I want to go into entrepreneurship or environmental management? Don't worry about that. We'll make sure that you're in the right position to decide how you want to specialize as you grow into the degree, really. So academically, that's where we're at. Of course, another thing that as we sort of alluded to earlier, we really value, and we make no apologies for pushing, really, is our employability team. There's something, again, we talk about loads because it's a wonderful resource to have. So our employability team, they sit within the business school, and they are there not just for students across the university. They are there just for students in the School of Management. So those students that are studying accounting and finance, economics, tourism, and business management, basically all have access to the employability team. They are a team that are sort of there for you to go and see, to go and use whenever you want. But they're very proactive, and they'll make sure, within a couple of weeks of you starting your course, that they'll be saying, look, come on in and sit down with us, and let's start at the bottom, get your CV sorted out. Let's get you set up on LinkedIn, that kind of thing, so that you're ready to start thinking about, if you're thinking about a year in industry, for example, to start applying for placements nice and early, or even to start applying for, it could be short-term internships. They'll help you if you're looking for a part-time work as well, or anything along those lines. And it is a slightly different world at the moment, but where possible, if there's opportunities to do part-time work that's even relevant to your degree, then they'll certainly give you as much support as possible. So we're very lucky to have these guys, really. Again, we could talk for hours about all the different things that they do, the mock assessments, bringing in people from, bringing in industrial contacts from outside the university in to give students a grilling, and a grilling exactly as they would get in a real job interview. Networking events as well. Yeah, there's loads going on. So yeah, it's definitely very important that particularly if you're umming and ahhing between apprenticeships and university, just to bear in mind that, university is not just a case of starting, doing your 3 years and leaving, but particularly when you're studying business, work experience and actually getting that sort of real authentic insight into the business world is crucial. So that's what these guys do. They facilitate it. And so if you've had, even though you didn't do the year in industry, you've got quite a lot of experience working with them as well.
Yeah, definitely. They I set up my LinkedIn last year, and they got me in touch with people that I could contact and be like, oh, hi, I'm interested in working with your company. Like, can you offer me some advice? Can you tell me a little bit more about it? But yeah, they're honestly, like you said, they're so proactive. They'll do as much as they can to help you, and they'll never say no to anything. So they are really, really useful. And if you do come to Swansea, make sure you utilise them.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I think in practice, it's a bit of feedback on the microphone. I think in practice, it's quite hard not to get involved with the employability team. I don't know myself of many students that haven't benefited from their support at some point, even without, as you've said, Sophie, without doing a year in industry or internship or a day of work. They'll always have that benefit, of engaging with these guys, and testimony to that, really. These are some of the recent recruiters and places that our students, our graduates, have gone on to work, or they've been placed at as well, on that year in industry option. I should add, year in industry as well is something, again, going back to that flexibility topic. You might decide you don't want to do a year in industry when you apply. 3 or 4 weeks into the course, you might change your mind, and that's fine. You can choose to do a year in industry all the way up to the end of your first year. So again, no pressure to actually decide, and you'll see on UCAS when you're going through through all of these different courses of BSc, business management, HR, with a year in industry or with a year abroad or 3 years, don't worry too much about what you ultimately end up choosing, because you can change your mind, and people do change their mind, as Sophie did. So yeah, those are some of the companies that students have gone on to work at. Well, how do they end up there? Essentially, we try and engage you with business right the way through. So we've talked about the employability side of things. We also mentioned earlier about working with businesses, working in a way that you would that will make you more employable in the course itself. The final year project is probably the best example of that. And Sophie, no pressure, I'm going to put you on the spot, but seeing as you're going into your final year now and you're just starting your final year project, do you want to surmise what it is and how it works?
Yeah, so basically you're in a group of 6 people. I chose my group, but if not, then the lecturers will put you into a group. But basically for the full years, from October through till June, you work with a company. Like, they'll give you a problem, and throughout the year you sort it out. You try to think of different ways to overcome it. So actually I had my business last week, and my group are working with the director of CMI Wales, which is Chartered Manager Institution, which I'm chuffed with, because it's a really good company to work with. So we'll be getting into that in the next 2 weeks, and hopefully we'll do really well, and get in touch with other people that could potentially be future employers. But yeah, it's a good way to, like you said, to get in touch with future employers and kind of have a real life idea of what you could be doing in the future, rather than just here's your coursework, I want it in by this date. You actually get to work with people and see what, like, the theory of being taught is put into practice, and how you use that to be successful, pretty much.
Yeah. Studying business in Swansea, this is instead of a dissertation, so there's not the sort of arguably old-fashioned kind of sit down and write whatever it is, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 words on a particular topic. This is actually you getting a brief from a company or an organization. Doesn't have to be, Sophie's CMI Wales, pretty good people to work with, to be fair, but equally, it could be a multinational, could be a local company in Swansea as well. Basically, the premise is that you are briefed by someone in industry, by a company. You're given a project to manage and deliver, and you're assessed through. You will write a report on the project, but you'll present the results of your project to members of the company and to academic staff as well. Yeah, huge rate. Again, another thing we could go on about for ages, but a lot of benefits to doing this as well. And most of all, it means that when you are walking into those job interviews and those kind of situations, that you've got those examples that you can talk about, because you can say, yes, when I was at university, I worked in a team with company X to deliver Y, and then it's a real bonus, to be fair. So final year project's one of the big advantages that you'll find of the business degree in Swansea. Of course, as we sort of alluded to earlier, digital technologies, harnessing digital technologies is a really is something that we've pushed a lot, particularly recently. So Paul Davis, he's kind of coming from more of a marketing background within the business degree, has the app development module. Essentially, again, a little bit like the final year project, I suppose. There's various briefs from different companies. They want an app to serve a purpose, and it's up to you guys to design the app, market it, and obviously ultimately make it function as well. So I think lots of different projects have come through this, but particularly one that was quite nice was, I think it was Big Heart of Swansea, was it, Sophie, working with the council in Swansea to essentially just to promote the city centre as a shopping destination, the market and all of the independent shops there. And they briefed, they worked with Paul and the team on this module to brief students and ask students to create the app for that purpose, really. So yeah, lots of different ways of being assessed. As I say, it's not old-fashioned pen and paper and long essays by any stretch. Although I would be lying if I said there wasn't now and then the odd essay. So
no, you're very right.
Yeah.
They try to, kind of cater to everyone. So I absolutely hate exams. Like I'm sure a lot of other people hate them as well, but I just don't do well in them. But I would prefer coursework over exams, and I've been able to choose modules where I can do coursework instead of exams and kind of showcase like my research methods and whatnot instead. But there's a lot of different things. Like if you want to do presentations, then there's modules where you've got presentations as your main assessment and whatnot. There's tons of different ways of assessing you, and that's a really good thing about school of management.
Brilliant. Nice one. Thank you, Sophie. Another thing, just to touch on quite quickly, it's probably, to be honest, slightly more relevant to those of you who are more interested in perhaps accounting and finance, that sort of thing. But professional accreditation is a big and an important part of what we do as well. So particularly our accounting and finance degree is shaped by the ACCA. So again, without going into lots and lots of depth, really, it just means that that the degree you're studying at Swansea, the degree that we've put together, as well as being shaped by those research interests and those areas of expertise of our academics, they work in hand with people like, for example, the CIM, if you're doing marketing in particular. To make sure that when you graduate, you've got a lot of the skills that, for example, Chartered Institute of Marketing would require. So perhaps it means that in a few years, if you wanted to be fully accredited, you wouldn't need to sit as many exams and that kind of thing. Essentially, it's just another what's the phrase? It's another thing that you can add to your CV to just make you even more employable at the end of it all. There is a phrase there, but it's completely left my mind. It must be that time of day. Okay. So a few stories, a couple of stories as well before and I'm well aware of the time we will launch into Q&A session and a bit of a discussion soon. Couple of stories just wanted to share with you guys before we do so. Amy is someone who you might have seen. She's done a few sort of videos and things for us over the last couple of years. She graduated from the business management and marketing specialism. She essentially, long story short, she is the sales and marketing executive for Swim Wales, which is quite a good title. She's the only one. She went into it as the only sales and marketing executive straight from university. In fact, I think she started working there kind of 1 or 2 days a week during her final year as well. So she was really very, very proactive there. But she landed that. Obviously, a lot of what she studied was very relevant and useful, but particularly important for Amy was her year in industry. She worked for Copper Bay Creative, who, again, they're a local company in Swansea. So, year in industry, it doesn't have to be far away, doesn't have to be in London or Manchester or abroad or wherever. There's lots of opportunities nearer, closer to home in Swansea, Cardiff, South Wales region. Amy took hers at Copper Bay Creative in a digital marketing role, which sort of set her up for this really. And now she's very busy, to be fair, but she's obviously promoting Swim Wales in that role. So she manages all of their merchandise, sponsorship, training development programs for athletes and for people who want to get into swimming as well. So yeah, a particularly exciting role for Amy, and she's someone who, again, you might see if you do attend any more sort of similar sessions to this over coming weeks and months. Of course, there's other things as well. We talk about entrepreneurship, starting up your own business, doing things your own way, and I think in any kind of business school, any business management sort of atmosphere, you've got people who have ideas and want to make them happen. So again, in the School of Management, if you've got an idea, then we'll do as much as we possibly can to help you get it up off the ground. So from the School of Management, we've had a couple of recent success stories. So Sean and Caitlin, they run a shop in the middle of Swansea called Ravs, Retro and Vintage Store. I think that's been going for a couple of years now, Sophie. I think
it's 2 years this year now. Yeah, they're doing really well, really, really well.
Yeah.
I think their Instagram is Ravs Online. Yeah, I think that's, so give them a follow.
I've missed a trick. I've missed a trick by not including it. And of course, yeah, as well as Sean and Caitlin, we've got Luke with his GoCo coffee. Again, in the days where we used to be able to have the physical open days where you come and visit, you'd actually have, you'd often anyway, you'd meet Sean, Caitlin and Luke, because they'd have little pop-up stalls in the School of Management too. Luke takes his business, well, he can drive it wherever he wants really. He sells quite very nice sort of artisan Italian coffee out of the back of a smart car. And again, he's managed to do that and really grow the business from scratch all the way through his degree really, which is quite an achievement. So these guys got to where they were obviously through a lot of hard work, through lots of dedication, but they had we've got dedicated entrepreneurship support officers, so they help people like Luke, Sean, Caitlin with the startups. They help them over the inevitable bumps in the road and everything along those lines. And it's possible to sort of integrate any kind of business idea that you've got with, for example, your final year project or something along those lines too. So it can work for you academically as well as professionally too. And of course, as we said earlier, lots of emphasis on entrepreneurship and innovation and things in the syllabus as well. I think so. If we've probably ourselves done enough chatting for now, so I think let's cycle on through and perhaps open things up. Hand over to you guys now for a bit of a Q&A really, and a bit of a chat. So I don't know if you guys have got any sort of specific questions about coming to university, about Swansea at all. Is there anything that you're perhaps a bit worried about or not sure about, or what do you want to do? Are you set on doing business for sure? Or are you still not 100% sure? This is a great time to ask Sophie and I, and we'll, like I say, we'll do our best to answer you. So, because of course there's a lot to think about this year. So if I don't know, well, sort of questions come through, and remember you can use that Q&A tab you'll see at the bottom of the screen. But Sophie, well, sort of the first, perhaps we sort of think about questions a little bit now. What sort of thing would you say is, I guess, most important to bear in mind when you're looking for a university? So you ended up quite close to home in Swansea, but was that always going to be the case? Did you look far and wide when you were hunting for a course and hunting for university?
So I knew I wanted to do business and something to do with management, but ultimately I chose Swansea at the end of the day because after speaking to some lecturers on open days, I kind of just realized that because I hate theory. Like, I don't like learning theory. I'm not a good learner. I like having like real life situations to learn. Like, I can't learn if I just read from a book. But the lecturers, I could tell that a lot of them had experience either in research or in like working in a certain company or whatever. But they apply the theory to a real life context, and I like that because it's my way of learning. But then they do also give you the theory. They give you everything. But also, I kind of just like the location. Like, I just thought, it's close to home. It's right by the beach. It's a new campus. It is a campus as well. I quite like that because, I didn't like the thought of going to a university that was perhaps a city university and was kind of all over the place. I just liked that everything I needed was on the one campus. And yeah, that's why I ended up in Swansea. Brilliant.
Thank you, Sophie. Question from John has asked, and it's a very good question, and a slide that was definitely due to come up in this sort of segment. I'll jump to it now. There we go. So yeah, obviously, what sort of grades will I need to come on to one of these courses? Be it business course, be it this would also apply for accounting, finance, economics as well. All of our courses in the School of Management, we ask for at A level grades ABB to BBB. Now, I think the first thing I should point out is that we know that not everybody takes just 3 A levels, particularly, of course, for you guys, a lot of you probably doing Welsh Baccalaureate. So the Welsh Baccalaureate we value as completely equal to 1 A level. To be quite honest, we love the Welsh Baccalaureate in Swansea University, particularly You know, if you're looking at something that's quite relevant to business, or, you know, perhaps you're looking at a contemporary issue in economics or anything along those lines. So I know the Welsh back, sometimes people are not too sure whether they like it or not, but it is something that's valued, certainly by us in Swansea. I think most universities really value the Welsh Baccalaureate and a lot of the skills that you get from the Welsh back too. So so that's really important to bear in mind, as well as obviously your three A levels. Welsh back will take into account, and of course, you know, BTECs and all sorts of other qualifications as well. So typically though, this is what we'd ask for. So around ABB to BBB. Of course, I should also point out that maths isn't required. I think a lot of universities, particularly perhaps for economics and accounting, will ask for a maths A level. Not something that we ask for in Swansea. So for economics, actually, obviously economics in particular is quite a maths heavy subject, it's fair to say. We actually split the students into two groups in the first year. So you'll have, if you did take A-level maths, you'll be on a specific module for students that have coming into the course having taken A-level maths. If you didn't take A-level maths, there's another module for you guys, you know, who perhaps want to get up to speed. And it's not a module that teaches you A-level maths, rather it teaches you the maths you need to know to thrive on the degree, basically. So then at the end of the first year, you know, you all sort of merge together and meet at the same place, basically. I should add as well, and what this slide doesn't really say, is that last year, and even more so this year, you know, we owe it to you guys to be as flexible as we can. So it's really, to be quite honest, not, and this is, you know, having worked in admissions, I'm not sure how open I should be about this, but, you know, to be quite frank, if your offer is if your offer is of a place based on you achieving 3 Bs at A level, and say you get 2 Bs and a C, or you get even a B and 2 Cs, it doesn't mean that's it, you're not in. It means that, okay, we step back, let's look over your personal statement, let's see what you're interested in, and look over, you know, perhaps what have you studied before, even your GCSEs, and we'll do our utmost to still make a case for you. So, you know, I know it doesn't say explicitly on the slide, and maybe I shouldn't be as frank about it, but we will be flexible as much as we can, because certainly last year was crazy, and there was a big impact for everybody in education last year. And, you know, this year, yeah, things are happening so fast at the moment. I hope it's not as crazy as last year was, but certainly, you know, with more emphasis on learning, studying at home and everything else is something that we'll definitely bear in mind. So yeah, thanks John, that was a really good question. I can see another good question. What would our top tips for a business personal statement be? That's another really good question. And again, you know, personal and another, yeah, so back on entry requirements. Thanks John. Back on the entry requirements, yeah. So as I said, those entry requirements and that kind of philosophy applies to all of the courses in the business school. So that will apply to accounting and finance, economics, tourism, marketing as well. So yeah, definitely, you know, those entry requirements are the same across the board for any of the subjects in the School of Management too. So that's well worth bearing in mind. Top tips for a business personal statement. That's a good question, and it's probably a session in itself. We can talk about personal statements for hours. Yeah, definitely. So I think, you know, the first thing to do is personal statement. It is very important. I think sometimes people think, oh, is it, you know, do we read every personal statement now? As I said, working in admissions for 3 and a bit years beforehand, did I read every personal statement word for word as it came through? No. But do we look at every single personal statement? Yes. And most importantly, where the personal statement really, really comes into its own is if you, as I said before, if you do miss perhaps a grade, you know, you're just short, we will look at the personal statement and we'll say, okay, you know, David has dropped a grade, but we'll read his personal statement and we'll say, okay, but yeah, he's got some really good, perhaps it's work experience, perhaps you've got some hobbies, maybe you're a really good sportsman or sportswoman, and you're going to bring that to university. Anything that gives us good understanding of you as a person is really, really valuable and really, really important. And I think as well, it's something that we're going to, it's a personal statement is the only real opportunity that you've got to really kind of tell us about yourself. Everything else is kind of automated in as much as, you get your subjects and you've got your grades and you've got your schools and perhaps where you've worked before. But your personal statement, it's your chance to write a few hundred words all about you. So, start off, introduce yourself. Why do you want to study business? And again, it might be, as we said earlier, perhaps you want to be a leader or a manager, or you've worked in a particular environment beforehand, or it might be that you're attracted to the range of different modules and things. Why do you want to study business? Who are you? What kind of makes you tick? And last of all, tell us as well, don't be afraid to tell us about your hobbies and who you are as a person and what you'll bring to university life more widely and more generally too. So yeah. And I haven't mentioned transferable skills yet as well. That's another thing to bear in mind too. So a lot of people might think, especially this year, work has been hard to come by. So you might not have worked, you might not have had as much work over the summer, for example, as you'd have hoped. Don't worry about it. There's transferable skills in everything you do. So maybe, again, to carry on the sports analogy, perhaps you played football for years and years through school. Talk about that. There's loads of transferable skills that will be directly useful in work and in education through sports, for example. Communication, teamwork, all of those kind of things. So think outside the box as well. That's enough of my monologue on personal statements. Sophie, have you got anything you want to add on the subject of personal statements?
I was trying to think back to when I was writing mine. I can just remember cringing at everything I was writing. And to be honest, I think you've just got to write as honestly as you possibly can. I didn't have much work experience before coming to uni. It was literally just working in a pub, and I was honest there, and I was like, this is the only work experience I've got. But I've enjoyed embracing it really. It's helped my communication skills. It's helped my teamwork skills. My time management, everything, the transferable skills, exactly spot on there. But just be as honest as you possibly can, and just be as you. It is a personal statement. Make it as personal as you can, because that's at the end of the day what it is.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very easy. A lot of people will say, I was as you mentioned so far, I've worked in a pub. It's not really it's not really relevant or useful. It definitely is. There's very few hobbies or experiences that you will have had that aren't relevant and useful and interesting. So yeah, be yourself. As I say, it's a chance to kind of promote yourself and tell us about yourself, really. The only other tip I'd say both on personal statements and actually applying is get in touch with us, stay in touch with us, and we'll share. And you've probably seen my contact details already on some of the slides. We'll certainly share them before the end of the session again. Take down contact details, and this doesn't just apply to Swansea, it applies to all universities. Universities, we do our best anyway not to be scary or intimidating places. We love to speak to you guys before you apply, after you apply, when you're making your decisions and things. So if you've written your personal statement and you're just thinking, should I mention this, or perhaps you've got questions about a specific course or anything, then ask. Don't just try and Google the answer to everything all the time. Sometimes it just helps to have a conversation, or drop us an email or anything like that as well. Another question from John again. Thanks, John. Do you have opportunities to do higher degrees such as a master's, etc.? So the short answer to that is yes. Yeah. So there's quite a lot of pathways. So yeah, every year quite a number of students progress. It's probably just under a quarter off the top of my head. Students will progress from doing an undergraduate degree like business management, and they might go on and do a popular route, strategic marketing, which is an MSc course, which again is that slightly higher level. very, very specialized. You know, by that point you're graduating as a, you know, as a specialist in a certain field, be it marketing, for example. I know we've got new courses coming in human resource management as well, which would be well established for you guys if you did stick around and do a higher degree as well. Yeah, lots of different options at a higher level too. I wouldn't worry too much about that kind of thing at the moment, because obviously, you know, you'll learn such a lot. You'll really sort of establish yourself and your identity and your plans as you grow into an undergraduate course. And it might be that, yeah, you do decide you want to, I don't know, go down that marketing or HRM or any of the other management routes as a master's degree, or it might be that you land yourself quite an exciting job at the end of the degree and want to go at that. Really, I'm going to put you on the spot, Sophie, seeing as you're in your final year. Have you thought about life afterwards just yet? I'm sorry to be asking you.
Actually, I've got a video interview to do this week with Deloitte to do tax consulting in Cardiff, so that's hopefully going to go well, but you know, have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm applying to as many graduate schemes that I like the look of. Pointless applying something that I don't like the look of. But yeah, I'm keeping my options open, but at the moment I want to go into something marketing related in the future, so I am actually thinking of the strategic marketing masters, because you know, you get the CIM, not CMI, CIM accreditation with that, and you can do a placement, a 3-month placement I think it is, but you can work with a small company in Swansea, get some experience marketing and do that instead of a dissertation, which again, brilliant for me. I'd rather hands-on experience. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
nice.
Got the whole year ahead of me, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's, especially in this climate, is really important. Sort of the keeping your options open thing is really important, and that applies to you guys as well, who are, you know, thinking about universities and all sorts of things going on at the moment. Make sure you keep your options open. Basically, it might be that you apply to university and you might apply to, I don't know, gap year schemes and things as well. And then when COVID maybe lets us know what's going to happen next summer, you'll be in a position then to decide and take one or the other option. Definitely. Okay, John's asking, do you have opportunities to do higher degrees such as a master's? It's been a long day. Sorry, guys. Do you have the opportunity to do joint honours courses, for example, combining business with a modern foreign language? That's a good question. We don't have joint honours options with business at the moment, not with languages, but we do have, so for example, you could do economics and business. You could do, I think there's economics and finance as well. So there are, in short, there is the option to sort of combine different elements of the business school's portfolio, but at the minute, unfortunately, there's nothing combined with, say, for example, law or languages. I think we're having a bit of a few changes to our kind of structures and things in the university, and I think that might come, probably not for next year though, but it might be. I think it's definitely something that we're looking at trying to bring together though. Yeah, no, thank you, thanks, John. Good, yeah, good question there. Were there any other questions at all for you guys watching? Again, don't worry if not. I'll pop my contact details up on the screen very shortly. But yeah, last call for any questions. Use the chat, use the Q&A tab. But if not, like I say, doesn't mean this is the only opportunity to ask us anything at all. Definitely not the case. First opportunity really to fire more questions at us. We've got another virtual open day coming up. So the next one's actually on Saturday, on the 17th of October, from 10 o'clock. And there's another one on the 7th of November too. So, you know, again, come for as long or as little as you want. There's lots of good videos, lots of interactive sort of sessions and things going on the day itself. You know, we've got lots of Zoom webinars, a bit like this going on. We've got live chats and things too. Again, that's not the only opportunity, of course, to get in touch. You know, one of the best ways is using a system we've got. It's called UniBuddy. If you search on Google, Swansea University student chat, something like that, then you can basically message Sophie or any of our other students who've signed up to it and ask them questions directly. And I think it's really good because that's the opportunity, really. You can actually ask Sophie questions that maybe you wouldn't want to ask now. So you might want to ask Sophie, I don't know, Sophie, your experience of online seminars and lectures and things, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, do have a look at that. You know, I think although it's tricky and it's a lot harder when it comes to choosing courses in universities this year, don't feel that you can't reach out and ask us questions. So I'm going to leave this slide up just for a minute, and you know, if you've got a pen and paper or anything, take a screenshot, you know, take down those contact details. My direct email address in the bottom left hand corner there. As I say, you've got the UniBuddy student chat screenshot there as well. Of course, if you know, you can phone us or you can drop us an email, or there's all sorts of different social media channels too. Really encourage you to do that for sure. So yeah, I'll leave that up on the screen, and a last call for any questions before we've got we're nearly out of time. So yeah, any other questions at all? I can't see anything coming in as I'm looking. Let me double check, make sure it's not hidden or jumped off the screen, which sometimes does happen. Bear with me for a second. Otherwise, we're good to go. Yeah, I think we're good to wrap up here. But thank you guys. I think the most important thing, yeah, thanks for coming along. You know, it's really good to chat to you and do this session. It's a shame that we're not there in person actually speaking to you, but hopefully it won't be too long until we can do so. But yeah, hopefully you know, stay in touch. Hopefully we'll see you very soon. Thank you again, John, for organizing everything. And thanks, Sophie, as well, for coming along and sharing all your experience and expertise.
No problem. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. And yeah, John, I will send the recording over to you as soon as it's kind of processed and ready. So probably be tomorrow morning, if that's okay, because it takes a while to upload and sort itself out in the system. But yeah, thanks everyone, and yeah, hopefully see you very soon. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.